What's up, this squad? Back with another video. Y'all seen the title was going down. Make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button for me, please. Y'all see it right here. See it right here. You got Omar knowing of all the fraud happening. It's no surprise, honestly. We knew that, but just hit the headlines of. Pretty sure her name is Amy, saying that she did in fact know about the massive fraud that's been going on. It says right here, Minnesota fraud mastermind Amy Bach just dropped a bombshell revealing that Somali Representative Ilhan Omar knew about the massive 250 million feet in our future fraud scandal the whole time. Like I said, it's nothing. Obviously, that's a surprise to me. It's not a surprise to you because we all knew that she knew. It's just a matter of getting it out there so other people know to where they pay attention. So it's time for the federal subpoenas. A full investigation, explosion from Congress, and deportation. Corruption is now exposed. Check it out.
Fox News alert, Ilhan Omar missed Tuesday's deadline for Minnesota Republicans to turn over documents in the Minnesota Feeding Our Futures fraud scandal. Democrats blocked an effort to subpoena the Congresswoman, all as we learn that Omar's name came up 6 times in the case against Amy Bach, the founder of Feeding Our Future. Now, Bach spearheaded the scheme, which stole federal funds intended for children and was convicted of wire fraud, conspiracy, and bribery. Ilhan Omar's name first came up in an email chain with Bach back in February 2021. The subject line read, "Help with USDA food program," in a message to Omar's office. Now,
not only are those messages, she's had messages between different individuals that actually has gotten arrested for fraud. So, like I said, Ilhan Omar is definitely in the middle of all of
about
this.
2 weeks later, Bach emailed Omar's office with the subject line, "FNS approves Minnesota school PEBT plan." Then 1 day later, Bach exchanged messages with this Feeding Our Future employee who fled the country after he was indicted in 2022. The subject line of their emails was Ilhan's office. And the emails kept flowing after that. In March, Bach emailed Omar's office again about the state's school food program. There were also text messages between Bach and Omar's office, which was uncovered during a raid of Bach's Minnesota house. Now, while we know Omar's office was communicating with a now convicted fraudster, we don't know the contents of those messages or if Omar herself engaged in any wrongdoing. In a jailhouse interview with Fox, this is how Bach described it.
Well, let me tell y'all something. I feel like it is a lot of wrongdoing just seeing how you're communicating with a whole bunch of individuals that's getting arrested for fraud. Or that's in fraud. You know what I'm saying?
Did you have any conversations with Ilhan Omar that make you kind of think twice now?
I've never actually spoken to her. I had spoken to members of her office. It was always really general, mostly pertaining to how the Department of Education was handling applications and the approval or denial of those. There was nothing of any substance pertaining to claims or meal counts or fraud or anything like that.
But Omar's ties to Feeding Our Future don't start and end with Amy.
They're going to protect each other no matter what, though.
Bach, she also had close ties with one of the restaurants convicted of stealing $16 million, Safari Restaurant. Back in 2018, she celebrated her primary win at the very spot. And records show she spent nearly $10,000 in campaign funds there between 2018 and 2020. It's over $3,000 a year. The food must be so great to spend that much at a restaurant. And check this out. We unearthed this 2020 video of Ilhan Omar on Somali TV working inside Safari Restaurant. And while she speaks exclusively in Somalian, we were able to make out these words: Pandemic, Meals Act, and Safari Restaurant. The chair of the Minnesota Fraud Committee also revealing Ilhan Omar received donations from several Feeding Our Future defendants. And that last name on the list right there, that's a former staffer for Omar who pled guilty to fraud.
So literally everybody within this fraud that she's communicated with that has donated to her, y'all can't tell me that she's not in it. I mean, that's just not something that you just skip over past and she's just innocent and like nothing is wrong. It's not a coincidence. I'm telling y'all that right now. Not even gonna lie. It's definitely insane of even having to even talk about this. Mind you, and I know that I've always said that it's a process, and I know they're doing a thorough investigation, this, that, and the other. But When I tell y'all that there's so much stuff out there, it's truly so much out there. Check out what Nick Shirley says here about Ilhan.
Ilhan Omar.
Is she really out of all of them?
She has been so silent about this fraud that it speaks so much as to how involved she is in the fraud. If she had nothing to do with the fraud, she would be able to defend herself, but instead of defending herself, she's gone completely silent, not even trying to work with anybody who's exposing the fraud. She knows that billions and billions of dollars has been lost, but she won't even work with investigators, or she won't even work with local media, and she won't even, they gave her the option to, they gave her a final date to say, give some information about the Feeding Our Future fraud that she's involved in. She couldn't give any information. I mean, she lost $29 million over the since I exposed her. Ilhan.
And the thing is and I seen something that truly made sense to me. Somebody said that she's waiting, waiting to get deported because she has money waiting for her. And I thought about that. Because as I sat there and thought about it, I'm like, maybe it is right for her to go to prison. Maybe it is right for her to do that, and for that money for to get that money back. Truly. Because this is definitely crazy. Say Ilhan Omar has been so silent about this fraud that it speaks so much as to how involved she is in the fraud. When I tell y'all that her whole demeanor, all the energy that she had at first when she was talking to reporters and slick talking, saying this, saying that, all of that went away. You're having that no more out of Ilhan Omar because she knows that they're getting closer and closer by the day. Not only, is it just Ilhan, says here that it's also to confirm that Tim Walz and Attorney General Keith Ellison knew about the fraud as well. Check it out.
Alert also in Minnesota, the convicted ringleader of one of the state's biggest fraud schemes is speaking to Fox News from behind bars. Now, she believes that the scam was no surprise to local Democratic leaders, and she's naming names. She spoke to Alexis McAdams. Hi, Alexis.
Hey, Dana. Yeah, so everywhere you look in the state of Minnesota, right, there seems to be another fraud scam. So this one involves Amy Bach. She's a Minnesota woman convicted of fraud for taking taxpayer money that was meant to feed hungry kids. But listen to this. Bach tells me the real issue here is the state of Minnesota, which she says kept giving scammers your taxpayer money even after they were flagged as fraudsters.
I have to believe that the governor's office and Keith Ellison's office were aware of this. They've said they were involved in helping the FBI. They've said they were made aware. But apparently I'm scary, so they couldn't do anything.
So Bach ran this nonprofit called Feeding Our Future. You might have heard of it. It was one of dozens convicted in this $250 million scam. You can see her mugshot there. Prosecutors say this group set up sham restaurants. They pretended they were making these meals. They got paid by the state for those meals, but they just pocketed the cash. Bach, who's looking at 30 years behind bars, tells me the state signed off on those businesses, not her.
It all went through a process. They were all approved. They were all paid by the state, yet all the fingers are being pointed at me.
And it's not just Bach. Whistleblowers told a congressional committee Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Attorney General Keith Ellison there ignored warnings for years as millions of dollars and millions were stolen on their watch. Congress is investigating a long list of massive fraud schemes in the state. It's hard to keep up. Prosecutors say it's led to at least $9 billion in fraud, Dana, and counting. Congress also asking why the Attorney General there would meet with a group of Somali fraudsters, which were under FBI investigation in 2021. The group can be heard in an audio clip given to us by Bach's lawyer offering to donate to his campaign if he can help them get their funding flowing again. Ellison denies any wrongdoing here. He slammed Bach in a statement to Fox, calling her a liar and manipulator, adding now she's on a media tour to deflect her guilt onto others instead of finally taking responsibility for this fraud scheme that she ran. So we reached out to Governor Walz too, Dana. He didn't get back to us. House Republicans say it's just getting started. They want to subpoena Walz and Ellison because they say they're responsible for ripping off American taxpayers.
Let me tell y'all something. They're protecting each other so much that do you remember how it was you would see a bunch of videos, you'll see different things about Tim Walz, Keith Ellison, Ilhan Omar. They would deny, don't say anything. I mean, they'll say, there's no fraud. You guys are this, and you don't see none of that no more. You don't see none of that no more for the simple fact they know that they're on to them now. I feel like there's so many individuals that's getting caught up. They're starting to catch on, and they're starting to give out names. As y'all see, they're going to constantly protect each other as much as possible. But one thing about it, they don't get caught. Check out what Nick Shirley said about Ilhan Omar and what he thinks is best for her.
I'd like to see her get deported back to Somalia.
Yeah.
I mean, she's married her brother, and she does not put America first. Like, I think that's like one of the first things, like one of the main things when you do become an American citizen, you have to pledge your allegiance to America. You won't put any other country in front of it. She's obviously sold out Minnesota to Somalia.
Right.
So she's putting Somalia ahead of America. When they talk about America, she doesn't talk about Americans. She says like the Somali community. No, it's do you want to become an American or not? I like
Exactly. And I've been showing that for how long to y'all? That it's all about Somalians. They got a police department in Minnesota. Police department, obviously they got a police department. But the police department, meaning it is a police department full of Somalians. And it's definitely wild. They even speaking Somalians. Says Ilhan Omar was not elected by America. She was elected by 80,000 Somalis that Obama imported into the country and placed in Minnesota. So all of this, again, is all set in stone. As, we all know. Some people don't know, but that's exactly what happened. One thing about it, bad news is coming, when it comes down to Ilhan Omar. And people are saying as well as her family. Ilhan Omar and her entire family are about to be, booted out of America. Mom's document fraud just destroyed their fake refugee scam and wiped out their citizenship. According to immigration reports, Omar's mother falsified documents when they arrived from Somalia, which means the whole family refugee status was built on lies from day one. Says that means they were never here legally. Literally would just takes away their citizenship. Says CBP Deputy Director Joe. Says Tom Holman can personally pay them a visit. And, that's just what it is. And people are literally hoping to see that happen for sure. Not gonna lie. You have it right here though. This is President Trump speaking so much on Ilhan Omar, and it made a lot of sense when it comes down to it. Not just Ilhan Omar, but Somalians, and really just it comes down to it as a whole. Not just in Minnesota. There's other places. Check it out right here.
Come up with a word because they are good. They're rotten with policy. They're horrible politicians. In many cases, we have a new name. They're Democrats. I call them Democrats. Not Democrats, they're Democrats. A lot of low IQ people. You have Ilhan Omar saying World War XI. She said she was referring to World War II. She said World War XI. These people are destroying our country, and we have to stop it. President Xi said something yesterday. He talked about, and he wasn't referring to the last 15 months, he talked about America's a nation in decline. And I said, you're right. But he wasn't talking about, because he said, what you've done in 14, 15 months is a miracle.
When you hear...
It is. I truly feel like it'd be way worse. Y'all see where it was headed, where the country was headed, having that Biden administration and just how bad things were. I don't know if y'all don't remember, but even when President Trump wasn't even, he stepped foot in the White House, he was still making things happen for America. And y'all clearly see that he still continued doing it. I know there's a lot of things that don't look so good right now, y'all. But one thing about it is just one of those things of trusting the process. And that's one thing that, we have to continue to do. I can tell you one thing. All the 4 years of the last administration, that Biden administration, President Trump has done a lot more. Literally everything. And trying to clean up their mess. Check it out. Make sure y'all hit the like button, hit that subscribe button. Definitely appreciate y'all. Stay tuned for the next video dropping tonight. Catch y'all next one.